Soul Seers, and welcome to SeeJamieSim. I'm Jamie, and today we're going to be working on Pretty Poison Simming Shell number 3, and we will be making this into a rec center for families in your Sims games. So here we are setting up, and I committed the ultimate sin where I moved the floors instead of the whole lot, which really kind of messed me up here. But anyway, we fixed it, and I decided that I'm going to be doing this in Evergreen Harbor because I really hadn't built kind of this kind of building here in a while. And if you heard that crash, that would be my cats messing around and knocking over a bunch of stuff, so sorry about that. So we're going to have these built out of the containers that are around the world. And here we are. And I decided that they were going to be all sorts of colors just because that's the fun of building this sort of place. And I had half decided that we were going to build this roof here in 2 spots, but I quickly decided not to because I hate that center dividing line. And the rest of it is kind of the corrugated metal. We have the werewolves metal fencing here. And I just am trying to decide how this is going to look. Because I kind of wanted it industrial looking, but not so industrial that it didn't really match with everything else in the world. Because, the whole thing with Evergreen Harbor is that you're trying to clean it up and make it look nice. So I decided that this rec center was going to be part of that gentrifying the neighborhood. So here we are. So I decided pretty quick that this was going to be for our families. And so the front becomes the back and the back becomes the front for this, which, is your prerogative as a builder. And there was going to be lots of natural light. I knew pretty quickly that I wanted it to be for kids or for families, just because it is kind of hard to find spots where everybody can do a bunch of stuff and kind of take up the day. So there's restrooms upstairs that have changing tables, and also a pool downstairs that has a locker room that has changing tables and toddler potties and all sorts of stuff. So it's I think it ends up turning out pretty well because you have a kitchen here and you'll have the big pool, and there'll be like musical rooms, and there is so let's just get on with it here. So here I am building our pool area and putting in a sauna as well because it's not a sim space unless somebody can die a horrible death, right? So I wanted to make sure that that was open to you as a Sims player. And here we are with our showers and more restrooms. And we kind of jump around here quite a bit. Not that I mean to, but just because that's the nature of me as a builder. And I couldn't get rid of these pink lines. As you can see, I don't have the option that I normally have up at the top, so I was kind of like, how am I supposed to do this? So we keep trying, and so we have the restroom, and I decided to go with these see-through doors because I feel like in all of the rooms that's going to be kind of the best way to see what's going on and to give everybody a bit of space. Here we are setting up a children's space outdoors with the splash pad and with plenty of big, spaces. And so I really, really rather enjoy this outside space. And the windows that are right up against the pirate ship are actually yoga, and that kind of cracks me up because that would be the least relaxing thing to watch. I would think would be while you're doing yoga would be these children almost falling off of these large structures because nobody pays attention. But anyway, that's what's there. That's what we fit. While I'm building this, I did not realize that that was what it was going to be, so that's my excuse for this. And here we are, just putting some trash outside and adding in lots of lights. I know I am forever just adding these little saucer lights, but they're my favorite and they go the best with everything, so that's my excuse. Yeah, so here we are with the pool, putting some stuff down at the bottom, putting some lights in. We're going to have a couple seats. I think right here is where one of my kiddos decided to chat at me, so that was what the wait was. And you know, it's a nice pool. It's a nice size. People will be able to swim laps if they want, or just kind of fiddle around in there. And there we are for the chairs, because you want your Sims to be able to go around, you know, and walk around the pool. Yeah, it's not like super big, but it is, you know, serviceable. And here's where we start building the family area upstairs. Downstairs is kind of where you have more of the private rooms. Upstairs is a very large kind of game area. And so we end up doing that. And it's going to be super colorful up here at the top. Downstairs, I think, is a little bit colorful, but up here is like a flash grenade went off. So I'm trying to look here on the build and just see exactly what needs to be in this particular build. And here's where I'm trying to figure out how to turn off those pink lines, because ever since the update, I have not had the option where I normally find it. So yeah, that's me being very frustrated, and just know that I am through the whole build. So it never stops. So here we are, just trying to fill in some space. And putting also another door to the outside. So we're creating just a little bit of space between, you know, where people can sit and read versus people who are going to be on the computer versus people who are going to be in the restrooms and and just having some fun up here. You can see these different mirrors. And, you know, I decided that it would be kind of cute if it were upstairs and we had that. Because this upstairs reminds me of when we lived in Southern California, and I used to take my girls when they were very, very, very little to the library up there, and it just kind of just reminded me of that. So I decided to kind of build it a little bit like the space was in that library in Southern California. So, you know, just with a lot of fun, and they also had like play spaces for kids, so that's what I decided to do. So here we are putting in a couple lockers in the downstairs pool area, and I also need to put in some different furniture there. And, you know, just kind of just playing with the spaces pretty much. As I find stuff, I kind of add it all in. toddler potties and all of that. Because I really want this space to be something where your full family of Sims has something to do. Yeah, so we're adding quite a few computers because, the Sims always default to wanting to do that, and a few games outdoors. And here we are with chess and more. I think that's Don't Wake the Llama, or it's a card game. So yeah, just a couple places to sit up here, and then here is where we're going to have, a lot of computers and the kids' art tables. Because those are also important. And I'm trying to tick down what we need for all of this. Yeah, so just kind of creating some fun spaces, some games, just some clutter kind of going on here. We have a TV with a radio from Tiny Living, and kind of a hamster and an aquarium, which my kids loved watching those when they were little, so I kind of decided to have that be up here because that would be mainly what my kids would have been looking at. So it's, you can see where there's so much natural light in that space, which is kind of what I wanted. Here we are with a kind of purplish room, and I don't put a stove in here, but I do put a microwave, I believe, and oh my god, do Sims hate microwaved food, so good luck. But I didn't feel like, with this being connected to a children's room, that there would be an oven or have like super hot water, just because that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, so we have the sauna and pool and the bathroom for the pool, the locker room, and I'm putting exits everywhere and kind of making these new rooms. Here we are with a place where everybody can eat. So here we go, and I just put a long row of seats there and a couple of high chairs, I believe. I never use high chairs in my builds, but I feel like if you wanted to, you could. That's mostly a personal thing, just because I think it's a waste of time, but here we are. And we need some places to eat outside. So we have those, primary colors, which I feel like is very, very kid-esque. And more places to sit, which is always fun and a half for the Sims. And a place for you to paint while the kids are playing with the barn. That's a dollhouse. And so we are also just putting some benches outside and just trying to make it look a little bit more complete. Yeah, I really genuinely enjoyed this build. It just kind of it really feels put together, and like this is the first steps to creating a more like green and colorful area, especially because, it is for families, which, it's a community space here usually, but we just take it up a notch with how we're going to to handle the space. And for the rec center, we need to have spaces where we can play music, which is going to be those two small spaces. We need a gym, which is going to be the large space that has the blue and black and purple tiles. And I decide also that we're going to do a yoga space, which is, like I said before, in that smaller room. So we have lots of stuff going on here. I think this is a good space that combines, all sorts of different activities that your Sims can do if they're learning something, or if they are wanting to work out or play music or do yoga, or play with the kids, make some coffee, play in the pool. You have a lot of options here. So I really enjoy this particular space. I think I am going to move it into one of my games just because I enjoy it so much. Because it really does kind of save you on like rainy days or anything where you kind of need to get out of the house. This is like such a good space to do so. So there is our yoga room. I think I add mirrors both to the yoga room and to the workout space. So we have, yeah, there we go. So there's mirrors in there. And then I remember you can't have mirrors facing mirrors because it really slows down your game, and it creates like crazy doppelgangers. All right, maybe not that, but it really does slow down your game. And here are the decorations for our locker room slash gym slash, fun house mirrors. So you got a lot of workout space in here that you can do, and just kind of putting things to clean up the space and where you would keep your towels. And mostly we are just cluttering up these areas now. Got the yoga mats with the heavy weights. And here are some, I believe those are trophies. This is water. And I don't think I put those up. I do put these little pandas around just because it, seems kind of nice. And here's our sign. That is also a waterfall. Yeah, so we have completed everything on our rec center checklist, and I believe we are just double checking for, whatever else we could possibly need. And decorating the kitchen a little bit more. Oh yes, and I put in vending machines. I forgot about that. I did put in vending machines because that seemed like a definite, since you can't cook anything really, that seemed like a good alternative. And here we are putting some benches down for the parents just to watch their kids. Because as a parent of little kids, I always really appreciated when there was a ton of seating, and hopefully in the shade seating. And I'm just putting signs onto what is where sort of thing. So just kind of completing everything with just some smaller details. If you do like these build challenges like I do, I have a 100 days of casts challenge going on. I also have 100 days of builds going on. I do a lot of shell challenges, and I also have just some collabs going on with a bunch of different simmers that I do. So if those interest you, feel free to stop by. I usually upload on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I do also have a Twitch channel, but I have recently started a new job, so I haven't really figured out again when I'm going to be doing that, but gonna try. But my schedule definitely stays the same here for my YouTube, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays. And here we are, just adding some final bits and bobs to our rec center. We have some seating, and I think I'm going through video games, but I decide no, I don't really need those. But yeah, so this is our beautiful, beautiful rec center. Kind of pinkish in the main lobby, but you know, it really gets fleshed out, upstairs, and yeah. So hopefully you guys will put this in your game and have lots of fun with it. Again, this is for Pretty Poison Simming's Shell 3 challenge. So lots of fun, and if you guys do want to give it a chance, you can see it on the gallery under Pretty Poison 69, I believe. Thank you guys for joining me today, and if you do like what I'm doing here, you can definitely stick around for Tuesdays and Thursdays when I upload. Thanks. Bye-bye.